Alrighty guys, it's time. It's time for my indie published reading vlog this month. It is coming out later than usual, but we're here, we're doing it. And this month I am so excited because we are going to be reading cozy mysteries. Hey guys, welcome back for those that are coming back, and for those that are new here, my name is Laura. As you can see by the title, we are doing an indie published cozy mystery reading vlog, and I am so excited about this. There are so many indie published cozy mysteries and mystery series, and I am just so excited to jump into them. All of these book options, I'm going to show you all of my options I have here. I have physical books and I have Kindle Unlimited books. You'll see my Kindle library, what I have in there. But I do have to say, even the physical books I have here are available on Kindle Unlimited as well. So there's that, but I am so excited because this is a new genre that I've recently gotten into. So I'm excited to kind of dive more in and get to read newer authors to me and just get a variety of cozy mysteries going here and see what I like and, you know, kind of like hone in on what I enjoy in a cozy mystery. So I will show you all of my options, and I will start with the physical books that I have here. But again, these are all available on Kindle Unlimited as well. So the first physical book I have here is The Great Witch's Baking Show, and this is by Nancy Warren. I actually ended up getting this. I have most of the series on my shelf actually because someone was selling these for such a good price. I was like, I might as well just grab them. So you guys know I love reading physical books, but since it is on Kindle Unlimited, it's awesome because I can read it at night as well. But I really enjoy my physical books, so I grabbed the majority of the series that this person was selling because why not? It was such a good price. So this is the first one I have. This one kind of gives me the, what is it, the Great British Bake Off vibe. So there's that one. Then this next one here I actually found at a thrift store. Actually the next two I have here, which I only have 3 physical books. So the next two I have here I found at a thrift store, and this one is called A Scone to Die For by H.Y. Hannah, and this is part of the Oxford Tea Mystery Series. So there is that one. For some reason this screams Halloween to me. I think it's like the orange and black and the skull screams Halloween. Looking at the back, it doesn't look like it has anything to do with Halloween, so we will see. So there is that one, again on Kindle Unlimited. I do believe that the covers for these have like completely changed, so if you don't recognize this cover on Kindle Unlimited or see it, the covers have changed. So there's that one. And then last but not least, I have heard so many amazing things about the series, and I feel like this is one I am definitely going to read in this reading vlog because I have heard so many absolutely amazing things. This one is Aloha Albi by Jasmine Webb, and this is part of the Charlotte Gibson mysteries. There is that one. I have to say, for this entire series, every single cover is absolutely stunning. So if this series is as good as other people say it is, I may just have to get the physical books for all of them, even though they are available on Kindle Unlimited. This series is also actually available to me on Hoopla, the audiobooks, through my library. So I love that about this, and I don't know, we'll have to see. I'm excited for this one. Really, really excited. Because like I said, I've just heard absolutely amazing things. And then we will go into my Kindle library here, which I will put the books on the screen so you can see them. So the first option I have on my Kindle is Ink or Swim, and this is a book 1 in a Dakota Madison Tattoo Shop mystery series. So there is that one. And then we have Scenes of the Grind. This one's by Tanya Capps, and I did read one other book by Tanya Capps, and that was Sleight of Hand. That is the first book in her hard-boiled cozy mystery series, and I enjoyed that one. And I want to get into her actual cozy, so that was hard-boiled. This is just cozy. I heard absolutely amazing things about this series, but also her Campers and Criminals series. Now, Camper and Criminals is an option, but right now this is the one that I have on my Kindle library, so I kind of want to stick to that. So that's an option. And then last but not least on my Kindle, I have Camper Vans, Cooking, and Corpses, and this one's by Tyler Rhodes. This one I believe is newer compared to most of the other ones, if I'm not mistaken. I may be completely wrong here. There's only 6 books in this series so far, and I haven't really heard very much about this, but I am excited to jump into it and give the series a try. So there are all of my options. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Scene of the Grind by Tanya Capps. And I'm thinking of starting this one because I have a lot of laundry to do today. So I have the audiobook through Hoopla, through my library as well, so I can read on my Kindle, and then I have the audiobook. And with me having to do laundry and then me probably not being able to read again until night, I have my audiobook, then I have the book on Kindle, so it just works out better. And I also kind of want to save this one till maybe one of the later ones in his reading vlog. So I'm going to go with Scenes of the Grind right now. So we will get started on this while I fold some clothes. Alrighty guys, we are closing out the night, so I wanted to give you a quick update. I am 53% of the way through Scene of the Grind. I do have my Kindle up here because I am going to read a little bit more before bed, but as you can tell with how far I am into this is pretty fast-paced. This is a very fast-paced audiobook, and I am really enjoying it. And I wanted to say that with cozies, you get immersed into a small town and you get to meet a lot of characters. And one thing I love about this is the characters you feel like you know, and I feel like the author does such a good job of like who is who, and you don't feel mixed up at all as to like if a name is in the book, you know exactly who they're talking about. You know, like sometimes where I feel like when there's too many characters, you can be like, well, who is this? Who is this? And like kind of constantly be running through your head like who's who. I feel like you don't need to do that in this one because she does such a good job of, you know, getting you to know the characters in the book. So I wanted to say that, but I know I didn't tell you very much about the book. And one thing I am not going to tell you, I am not going to tell you who gets murdered because I know it is in the synopsis. But I am someone who loves to go into books blind, and I am someone who doesn't like to know who gets murdered before going into a cozy, because I feel like that is like part of the fun of going into a cozy is like trying to guess who in this book is, you know, going to end up being the victim. And I say fun, obviously this is fiction, we're reading for fun, you know, and it's like trying to guess, you know, who it's going to be and why, and like how the like book starts off, and like I don't know, I have a fun time trying to guess what's going to happen in the beginning when things are just kind of setting up. So I don't want to say anything. Again, it is in the synopsis, so if you want to know more about that, you can definitely check it out. But if you're like me and want to go into books blind and kind of have fun trying to figure it out before anything happens, I don't want to ruin the book for you. So I'm not going to say too much about that, but what I will say is we have our main character, Roxy, and she is 30. She is recently divorced, and her husband had cheated. She was a lawyer, and she recently retired to move to Honey Springs to be a barista, and there she owns a coffee shop called the Beehive Coffee House. So her ex-husband was also a lawyer. She met him in school. So anyway, she is divorced. She moved to Honey Springs, Kentucky, and I love kind of just the vibes of this small town. So the Beehive Coffee House is located on a boardwalk, and the boardwalk is on a lake, and I love that. I always feel like when I think boardwalk, I think ocean, because as you guys know, I am from Pennsylvania and Jersey and the shores and things like that. So I always associate a boardwalk with an ocean, and I don't know, seeing a boardwalk on a lake, we don't have that necessarily here, at least not that I'm aware of. So I always have to remind myself we're not at the beach, we're on a lake. But anyway, it's really cool to see how this little town is set up. And Roxy is not necessarily new to this town, so her aunt actually lives in this town, and she ended up spending some of her summers growing up there. And her aunt that lives there is her dad's sister. So anyway, Roxy does know some of the people in this town. She does know some of the shops of this town, and it's kind of cool to see her get back there and have these memories and know these people and just kind of reconnect in that way. I really enjoy seeing that as well. I also see there's a little bit of a like romance subplot going on here, I'm guessing. We don't get to see too much of it because it's kind of like not a main plot. I mean, you do get to see the two of them interact, and I'm not going to say who it is either because I don't want to spoil that either, but it does happen pretty early on in the book, and you get to see a little bit of their backstory because they do have a backstory, and I like seeing that, and I like seeing how they're interacting now. I think is really cute, and I can't wait to see how it continues on throughout the series because I do think that can be like a cute part of this book, and I'm sure it's a reason that some readers keep reading because I do feel like when cozies have like a romance subplot, sometimes it's just fun to go along for that as well. Anyway, we obviously have a murder in this book. So the murder takes place around 30% of the way through this book. So you do get a good setup and build up to the point of that taking place. And what I like about the book is you do see that there is drama in this town. As with cozies, you do see that drama build up. And I think it's just so neat to see the drama build up and like how the relationships are in the beginning of the book and how just the dynamics are working. I don't know. Some people are really quirky. Some people are really funny. There's just so many different personalities going on in this book, and I'm really enjoying that as well. We also see our main character, Roxy. She ends up adopting a dog, and we have Pepper in this story as well. I do want to say that Roxy is the one who finds the murder victim, and Pepper is actually there. And with the murder victim being found, Roxy is on like high alert because the person who was murdered, her aunt doesn't necessarily have a good relationship with. People had seen her aunt arguing with this person, so Roxy knows that her aunt is going to be a main suspect in this murder case. So you see Roxy trying to figure out like what's going on, how did this happen, trying to clear her aunt's name, and also like trying to keep her livelihood. And it's a good time. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Roxy as our main character. I'm enjoying Pepper as the dog who was adopted and seeing how that's incorporated into the book, and the romance subplot, like I said, I think that's awesome too. So I'm just all around enjoying the book, and I can't wait to see where this goes. I don't necessarily have any guesses as of right now, and I am, like I said, having a really good time, and it is really fast paced, so I can see why people really love this series. Like I said, this is a very highly talked about series from a lot of people, and Tanya Kappa's series, this one and the Campers and Criminals series, they are her, at least from what I see, the most talked about series by her. So I can see why. It definitely is a good cozy, and I can't wait to see where it goes. And I do definitely see myself continuing in this series in the future, so I'm excited to keep going with this, and I am sorry if you're disappointed that I'm not gonna like get more into the synopsis here. But I think it's more fun to go into these and like try to guess yourself, and like, I don't know. I think that's the fun of these, and that's what I really enjoy doing, so I don't want to, take the fun out of it if someone else really enjoys the same things I do, because I know sometimes going into books and already knowing who is killed, it doesn't necessarily ruin the book, because like I said, it is in a synopsis, and if I do hear a book, a cozy that I do want to read where I already know who is killed, it doesn't necessarily ruin the book, but I do enjoy the time in the beginning being like, oh, who's going to get murdered? Like, I don't know. I do enjoy a good guessing game. So I wanted to throw that out there, but I am enjoying the book. I can't wait to see where it goes, and I will keep you guys updated. Like I said, I am going to shower, jump in bed, and continue reading on my Kindle, but I just wanted to give you guys a quick update and say that I will see you guys tomorrow. Alrighty guys, time for an update. As you guys know, I got through a good chunk of the audiobook yesterday before I updated you guys, and then when I got in bed I was able to get through a good chunk on my Kindle as well. Then I woke up and I finished up the audiobook this morning for Scene of the Grind, And I still continued to enjoy the book, but I do want to talk about some aspects of the book that did fall a little flat for me. And I was so shocked because when I updated you guys, I thought I was going to be giving this book a 5 stars. I thought this was going to be my first ever 5-star cozy. I have not had a 5-star cozy yet, and I like literally cannot wait until I can find one. And I thought this was going to be it. But like I said, there were parts of this that fell flat for me, and the biggest one was the relationship development. I thought this could have been so well done. If you're a cozy reader, you know that some romance subplots and how they're integrated in the books is just so well done, and like you keep reading not only for the mystery but also the romance at the same time, because it is just like subtly there and subtly noticeable, and it's just, I don't know, it's like heartwarming. Whereas this one, it just felt so rushed, and while I know it's going to continue on in the series, like the romance subplot, it felt so rushed, and I just felt like it took away from the story in a way. I don't know how to really put it, but it was too much for me. Too rushed, very much insta-lovey, and I know that Roxy and the person she is in this romantic relationship with had known each other for a while, but it's just like she's just coming back to this small town, she's just seeing him again, and then it was way too rushed for me, in my opinion. So there was that. On top of that, I felt like the murder suspect was very predictable. I know I told you when I was at the point in the book yesterday when I updated you that I had no clue. Well, it got to be around the 60% mark, so not too far from where I was last night when I updated you guys. When I got to that point, I was like, I 100% know who did this, and it was extremely predictable, and I was correct. And I feel like if you read cozies often, this is going to be extremely predictable when you get into a certain part of the book. And you have a decent chunk of the book left where our main character is still trying to figure it out, and you're just like, I know who this is. Like, this is just predictable, and like when things start to unravel, you're like, yep, here it goes. So like that was a thing too, and I don't know. I get some cozies are going to be predictable. I don't know. I felt this one was a little too predictable, and I did want to say that at the end of the book, I was like so kind of taken back as to how things turned for me and what I was feeling that I looked at Goodreads, because I was like, I don't know what to rate this at this point. Like, I was so thinking 5 stars, and then all of a sudden here we are. So I was looking at the reviews, and I do want to make a point to say that I consumed the majority of this book through the audiobook. So if you're listening to me say this, please take that into consideration, because there were so many reviews that said there was a lot of grammatical errors throughout the book, and you don't hear me talking about them, so I don't want you to be like reading the book and be like, wow, there's too many errors or mistakes that I can't physically read this book anymore. So if you have the option, do this book through audiobook, because I thought the narrator was just absolutely phenomenal. Now, I do have to say there were certain points when I was reading on my Kindle last night where I had to read the sentence over again, because I was like, how is this making sense? But like there were points where I was like, I don't know. It wasn't even like the wordiness, but the word selection just didn't seem to be the best. I don't know. But anyway, that's how I felt. But that was only a select few times. But I had to take into account I didn't read on my Kindle for very long. But I did want to throw that out there because I did listen to the audiobook, and I didn't hear any grammatical errors as I was listening to the audiobook. So I do want to say that. But with all of those things being said and how the book kind of took a turn for me, I will be giving this book a 3.5, and a 3.5 is not a bad rating. It's above average, but not like in, oh my gosh, that was great. So it's kind of just a little above average, because I don't know, I had a good time, I had a fun time, but it just kind of took a turn for me. And I do still want to give it a good rating because I thought it was fast paced. I thought it was fun. I love the vibes that the town gave. I love that there was like an underlying bookish theme going on here. There was just so many things to really enjoy about the book. So we're going to stick with a 3.5 and call it at that. I will continue on with the series because, like I said, I did have a good time, and all of these books are available from my Hoopla account through my library. So I will continue on with the audiobooks. Like I said, I just really enjoyed the narrator for these books, and we'll continue on with this series. Now, jumping on to my next book, I didn't mention to you guys either, there is another book option for me, and I'm going to put it on the screen. I did get this book sent to me by the author, and it is on BookFunnel. So that is why I did not see it when I went into my phone to look at the books I had on there. And this one is Murder Over Easy by Rosie A. Point. That is another option for this reading vlog. So I wanted to throw that out there too. But moving on to our next book here, I'm going to be reading The Great Witch's Baking Show by Nancy Warren. Again, I do have the majority of this series already on my shelves, so I'm excited to jump into this one, especially since I do have the series on my shelves. But I have this physically. It is also available on Kindle Unlimited, so you will see me like alternating between reading the physical copy and then reading on my Kindle as well. So let's jump on into this one. It's a dreary day, so it's a perfect day for some reading. So let's jump on in. Alrighty guys, it is the next day and time for an update on The Great Witch's Baking Show. I did not make it very far into this book whatsoever. I am only on chapter 3. But I did want to give you guys an update because this is kind of unique and I really like it. So in this book, I showed you guys in the beginning that there was a little introduction as soon as you got into this book. And then you move on and you have a prologue. And then you move on and then you go to chapter 1. And I really like this because I feel like the introduction gave you a like general synopsis as to what's to happen in the book. Then you went on to the prologue and it tells you a little bit about the background of 2 of our judges. And I like seeing that because it like sets you up to go into the book to, you know, have the best reading experience. And like, I think it was neat the way this was set up. So in the prologue, we get to meet Elspeth Peach, and we get to meet Jonathan Pine, and they are 2 of our judges in the baking show here, and they are both witches. And it tells you this right off the bat, like I said in the prologue, so I'm not spoiling anything. And essentially, witches are not supposed to like be mingling with mortal people and like just the general public. But with these 2, the British, I think it's called the British Witches Council, I believe. I could be wrong. I think that's what it's called. We're gonna go with it. The British Witches Council has kind of given them a okay, but to a certain degree, like they know a line they can and can't cross. But both of these witches and judges have kind of crossed that line just a bit. One more than the other. Jonathan has like crossed the line to the point where the council has talked to him, and this is kind of his punishment to be a judge on this show because he has been using his magic for his own good, and you're not supposed to be doing that. And then we have Elspeth, who she is very good at baking and, you know, she has a talent, but there are times where she is judging people, or, you know, she's in a situation where she is in a competition or, you know, in that kind of like environment, and she helps the contestants. And while it's not for her own good that she's using her magic, she's helping other people. So she's also not supposed to be doing that at this competition. And she gets a little warning from Jonathan that the council had said something to Jonathan, so she gets that little warning from Jonathan to not to be doing that at this competition. So you get a little background on both of them, which I really enjoyed, and I think it's going to play a big role in like how I, you know, take in the rest of the book. So I love that in the prologue. Then we get to chapter 1 and we get to meet Poppy, who is our main female character. She is the one on the front here, and she has been wanting to get on this show forever, but they only pick 12 contestants to go on the show, and she gets selected. So she was living in England, and then she moved to America, and then she moved back. But she has a different past because she was actually left on someone's doorstep as a baby. And the person she was left on the doorstep, they obviously, you know, got officials involved, and Poppy ended up being adopted by another family. But Poppy still, you know, is around this other family that she was found on their doorstep, and it's really kind of cool to see the dynamic. But within the first 2 chapters here, since I am on chapter 3, we did get a little bit into the baking competition, and it was really cool to see all of the different characters, and you're kind of like learning their personalities and like who's who and like how they are like personality wise, and kind of like just getting a general feel for all of the contestants and how the show runs and things like that. So I am really enjoying it and I cannot wait to continue, but I wanted to give you just a quick update to tell you where I am now. I most likely will not be able to read this again until later tonight. It is Sunday, so I am filming some other videos here today, and we have family dinner. We'll probably go for a walk. So that is kind of what we're doing today, and I probably will not get to read again until I get into bed. But that is it, and just wanted to check in. Alrighty guys, this is going to be a really quick update. Big Dave had a fever 2 days ago and is still on the mend. He doesn't have a fever anymore, but he's still sick. We have baby David, who just got a fever this evening in the 102s. Called the doctor. We are doing everything we need to do for him and continuing to monitor him. So this is going to be a very quick update. I'm going to be staying up probably pretty late with the baby. So I probably will finish the Great Witches baking show tonight. But I wanted to give you an update with where I am now. I am about 60% of the way through, and I am still enjoying this. The one thing you guys know is like when there are a bunch of names, sometimes it's not that I get confused because I recognize the names, but I have to sit there and think, okay, who is this person when their name is brought up again? With this one, we have 12 contestants. We have the like production part of it, like the man who mics up the contestants and like producers and like judges and comedians and things like that. So there are a good number of characters in the book, and even though we're not introduced to like all of them, it still can be quite a bit a lot. So like when people's names are brought up, I'm like, okay, rewind, who is this again? I feel myself doing that a lot. And I know with Cozy Mystery series, you generally are introduced to a good deal of characters because you're trying to get to know these people, this small town and things like that. But with this one, I find myself having a little bit more difficulty just like kind of nailing down everybody and who they are and, you know, their personalities and things like that. But I do have to say that maybe us being sick and me putting this down and picking it up and putting it down and picking it up, maybe that also has something to do with that. So I don't want to like dissuade somebody from picking it up. I don't want to do that at all. If you're interested in it, I would definitely pick it up. It's super interesting. I love that we have a murder mystery in here, but there is another mystery going on with, obviously Poppy was dropped off at a doorstep of another baker when she was an infant. And we have that going on here as well, and her trying to figure out, you know, who her family is, like where they are and things like that. And I really enjoy that part of this story too. And I like that we will get to continue that as the series goes along. So we're figuring out this murder mystery in this book, and then getting the other mystery continuing in the series. And I really enjoy that. I like that. So I'm curious to see how this goes. And I wanted to say, we are, like I said, 60% of the way through this book, and at about 50%, that is when the murder happens. So you get a good chunk of the way through. You get to know the person who was murdered a decent bit before it happens. So I like that too. I like getting to know the characters, although I do kind of wish it happened a little bit earlier. I do love when the murder sometimes takes place in the beginning of Cozy Mysteries. Sometimes I like that. So, but it's nice to get to know the characters as well. So there is that. And we are also past the point of the first baking competition, so there are like 3 segments to it. And I was reading the reviews because I know, like I said, I'm having a hard time keeping up with the characters, and I wanted to get just a general idea if anybody else felt similar, and I didn't come across any reviews that felt similar. So that also kind of confirms that it might be me putting this down, picking it up, putting it down, picking it up, that might be contributing this, and my like full attention span being on the baby and like picking this up when I can, if that makes sense. But I still am enjoying it nonetheless. But I was also looking at reviews, and they said that in this, it is only the first week that they do the baking competition, and we have already passed that. So I have a good portion of this book, like 40% still, where I don't know what's going to be going on, because apparently the baking portion of this might be done. And obviously there are still, you know, the people there because this murder took place at this competition. So there are still people here. We're still going through like investigation and things like that. But I'm wondering what we're going to get in the 40% that's left of this book, since the baking show is a big part of the series. So I'm curious to see what we're going to end up getting, but I do want to give you guys, like I said, a quick update and just tell you where I am. But I'm hoping to finish this up tonight. So I'm hoping to give you an update either tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see with everybody being sick when I can update you guys again. But I am hoping to update you guys soon and tell you I finished and potentially started a new book. So let's jump into this and finish this up tonight. Alrighty guys, so it is not the day after like I planned. It is the following day. So the kids are still sick, but they don't have fever, so all is good here. That is one thing for me. As long as they don't have fevers, we are good. We do have congestion and running noses, but I can deal with that compared to a fever. So we are on the mend here, but I did end up finishing the Great Witch's Baking Show. And I feel like when I updated you last, I was about 50-ish to 60-ish% of the way through this book. I do have to say that the last half of this book flies. It just flies. So we get the murder that happened, and I have to say that the person who did it, I was not able to predict. This was so unpredictable, and that is why I absolutely love this. I feel like with reading so many cozy mysteries and reading thrillers and just mysteries in general, sometimes it's a little easier now to predict who had done it. This one, there was no way I was going to guess that. And if you are someone who read this and guessed it, props to you, because I would have never figured that out. And I feel like there's a whole backstory to it, and I absolutely ate that up. So that is how I felt about the murder mystery going on in this. But also with Poppy and trying to find out the mystery of who her mom is, who her family is. There's a lot going on there as well, and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see how it kind of progresses throughout the series. Obviously, there are a good deal more books in the series. I also really enjoyed how relationships are forming in the series. So I know I told you guys in the beginning of Cozy Mysteries, you kind of get a lot of characters and like their personalities and just the vibes of the characters, and you also get like the vibes of the small town. And I really enjoyed that about this book, but like I said in the beginning there, I was kind of getting confused with the characters because there are just a lot of them. But there are some main ones that I feel like stick out a lot more and are more important, if that makes sense. And in the end here, the relationship building, I absolutely adore it. And the paranormal aspect of this with the witches, that is developing really, really nicely as well, and I am absolutely eating that up as well. So I do have to say that while the beginning was just more of like getting to know the characters, getting to know the small town, getting to know the story behind Poppy, the last half is so fast it flies by. And this is not a thick book, it's a really thin book, so the whole book goes by quite fast. But let me tell you, that last half, man, it just flew by and I absolutely loved it. I ended up giving this 4 stars, and I cannot wait to continue on with this series. So there is the Great Witch's Baking Show. If you are someone who loves baking shows and competitions and all of that good stuff, you would absolutely adore this. I highly recommend picking this one up. But anyway, that one is complete. Again, can't wait to continue on with this series. I did end up picking up Aloha Alibi by Jasmine Webb. I am loving this. I am about 30%, 25-30% of the way through here, and I am absolutely eating this book up. I can see why people love it so much. And like I said, I like a cozy mystery that it's not even necessarily the mystery that has to come in the beginning, but something that's going to hook me, something that's going to want me to continue to keep reading. And I love getting to know characters. I love getting to know small towns. I love all of that. But let me tell you, this hooks you from the first 2 paragraphs, and I want to read them to you. This is part of the prologue, and I'm in love with this. So as soon as you turn open the book, it's the prologue. It says, "The longest lasting relationship I'd ever had was with my Netflix subscription true crime shows. And I was the kind of person who fell asleep listening to my favorite murder, but the first time I had a gun shoved in my face, I still felt this huge urge to pee myself. Don't wet your pants. If he shoots you, you're going to smell like pee when they find the body. If you have to be a corpse, be a sexy one. No one thinks urine is sexy, except maybe a certain rapper." I love this because, like I said, that immediately hooked me, and I was like, what is going on? Why does she have a gun shoved in her face? What's going on here? And With this prologue, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it because obviously it's not spoilery. It's the prologue. Charlotte is living in, I believe it is Seattle. It is Seattle. So Charlotte is living in Seattle and she is working at this jewelry store. And one day this jewelry store is getting robbed and she recognizes the man who's robbing the store, and it is someone who is affiliated with a gang. And she is like, I know I'm not going to get out of this because I am technically a witness and I can recognize who this guy is. If he wanted anybody to like get out of this, he would have, you know, like covered his face or like something like that. He's gonna leave no witnesses. So she knows right off the bat she's gonna end up dead, and that is where those thoughts are coming from. Obviously she ends up making it out, but obviously she is tied now to a person who's affiliated with a gang. So Charlotte is, you know, getting all of these threats and having all these things done, and she is finally fed up one day and she's like, I'm not gonna tell you all the details because there's more details in here, but I want to leave some to you guys to read. But she's like, one day she's fed up, she's like, I am leaving here, I am not dealing with this. She ends up moving back to Hawaii with her mom. So she is from Hawaii. When she gets there, her best friend greets her at the airport, and I love seeing the relationship between her and her best friend. They haven't seen each other in years and it just picks up like right where they left off. I feel like I can feel that because I have friends who, you know, I have 2 kids, so it's hard to see my friends all the time. So when I do see them, it picks up right where it left off, and I love that. And I felt that in this book just because I know that feeling and love seeing that. And then you also have the relationship between Charlotte and her mother, and I know people are going to be like, you know, it's an unhealthy relationship, like all that kind of stuff, but it's funny. I am enjoying it. It is written to be humorous, and if you couldn't tell in the first 2 like paragraphs there, this book is written and has a certain humor to it, and I feel like if you don't enjoy that kind of humor, you're not really going to enjoy this book. But I am absolutely loving this, and with the reviews being so high, my expectations are high now because I am enjoying this. So I'm thinking possible 5 stars, we shall see. But anyway, Charlotte is in Hawaii. She's living with her mom, and I also like that you kind of get to see like her spending habits and things like that, and there's just a lot going on there. But she's living with her mom currently. She's like, I need a job because I need to move out from my mom's place to get myself, you know, settled here and everything like that. So she wants to find a job. Anyway, she's around town and she's walking and she sees that an ice cream shop that she had visited a lot when she was younger, there is the owner in there who is serving all of their customers, but there are so many customers, the owner is overwhelmed. So she goes in and she's like, I can help, let me help. And the owner is like, you know what, if you help me and you don't make a mistake, you're hired for good, like you can work here. Charlotte ends up getting hired that day, and then from there, that is kind of where we see this murder take place. I'm not going to tell you who it is, anything like that, but it is so intriguing. I am so invested. And with this story, I was like, you know what, this murder is kind of weird because why would Charlotte be invested, you know what I mean? Because it's not necessarily, I don't want to get too involved, but there is a $100,000 reward for anybody who is able to figure out who had done this or knows any information on who had done this, you know, that kind of thing. So Charlotte is like, I need this money, I want to move out, so I need this money, you know, this could help me get settled here and everything like that. So I love that going on in here as well. I love that aspect of it. And Charlotte also runs across 2 older women who are also trying to solve this murder and get that reward. So it's fun, it's a good time, it's humorous. I am so enjoying this and I cannot wait to continue. Like I said, I'm about 25% of the way through. I am on chapter 7. So that is what we're going to do here now. We're going to continue with this, and I am just absolutely loving this and I cannot wait to see where this goes. So let's jump back on in. Alrighty guys, good morning or afternoon or night or whatever time it is where you are, but I wanted to give you our final update. So I know I said I was going to be reading 4 books and I was going to be reading Murder Over Easy by Rosie A. Point, but I am just not having the time for that with the kids being sick and with everything going on, and Easter is this weekend and I want to give you guys an Easter vlog as well. So there's that. I just don't have the time, but I did end up finishing Aloha Alibi this morning. As you guys could see, as I was getting ready for the day and making breakfast and, you know, getting my coffee ready and things like that, I listened to the rest of the audiobook. And I have to say, I absolutely loved this book. Now, was it a 5-star like I was anticipating? No, but I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. And here's why. I'm going to start with the things I loved. I absolutely adored the relationships in this book. All of the relationships I adored, all of them. And all of the characters I adored. And I cannot wait to continue on with this series. This is the highest I've ever rated a first book in a cozy mystery series. So I literally cannot wait to jump into more of these. And like I said, I love the relationships. I love the setting in Hawaii. I feel like it gave you all the vibes, and I loved, like I said, all of the characters. I loved all their personalities. They were just all so different. I loved seeing the mother-daughter relationship. I loved seeing the friendship between Zoe and Charlotte. And then I loved seeing the relationship and how it developed with Dot and Rosie. And just getting to know more about each of these characters. And I feel like the characters really make this book, and there's a humor to it. There's a lot of references to different things that you'll pick up on in the book. But while there's a humor to it and there's references to other like silly things, and you know, it's just a lot of fun, there are life lessons in here as well, which I absolutely love in books. So those are just some of the things that I loved in this book. I also, you guys already know, really enjoyed how this book started. It caught your attention immediately from the first 2 paragraphs, and that's just something I really look for in a book, is just catching my attention immediately and just continuing with it. And I feel like it never dropped my attention because there was always something going on, and it was just a really fun time. Now, why I dropped it to a 4.5. I did this because there were parts of this that are unrealistic. I know it is fiction, but it was just like, okay, well, this wouldn't happen in real life. You know, there were just like parts of the story that were just a little too unrealistic for me. But like I said, it's fiction. It's supposed to be fun, and I had a great time still. The other thing was that I felt like, although I have to say I didn't guess necessarily who had done the murder, but it wasn't shocking. It wasn't like a, oh my goodness type of shock like the previous book in The Great Witch's Baking Show. That was like a, like, how did this happen? Like, this is crazy, like unbelievable, jaw-dropping mystery. Whereas this one wasn't. I didn't guess it, but I still was not shocked, if that makes sense. But it was still good. I enjoyed it. A 4.5 is a really high rating, and again, the highest rating I have ever given a first book in a cozy mystery series. So I cannot wait to jump into more of the series. And if you haven't checked this out, definitely check it out. But also, the book covers for every single book in this series are just absolutely stunning. So you guys know I'm probably gonna have to buy the physical copies because they're just, like I said, they're absolutely stunning. I had an absolutely amazing time, and I cannot wait. I know I said this like 50 bajillion times already, but I cannot wait to continue on with this series. So there is my little indie cozy mystery reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I am sorry I have to cut it short, but I do have other plans for recording this weekend. As you can tell, Grace is up in there, and then we have the baby who's currently napping. But thank you guys for sticking with me. I really appreciate each and every single one of you. If you like this video, make sure to give it that thumbs up. And if you want to stick around for more bookish related videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you. Again, thank you guys, and I will see you guys soon.